What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. You find me today in our first generation Audi R8. Now, I apologise if my voice is a wee bit rough. I literally rolled out of bed into this car. I'm still trying to wake up. But first generation Audi R8, which my friend Fraser purchased last week during the fuel crisis. Probably not the smartest thing to buy a supercar during the fuel crisis, but either ways, when he got this car, I said I have to do a review of it, because if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I've already owned a first generation Audi R8. Both his and mine are white, and both his and mine had the Capristo exhaust. However, that is where the similarities end, because whilst my car was a 4.2 litre V8 6-speed manual coupe, this one is a 5.2 V10 R-TRONIC automatic spyder. So although they're the same cars, they could not be any further apart. And these cars, because of the value, they've hit residual value. You pick up a good car from anywhere between 35 to 65,000 pounds for a first generation Audi R8, so they're becoming very affordable. So in this video, what I'm going to do is going to decide, well, give my opinion on what's the better engine, the V8 or the V10, what's the better chassis, the spyder or the coupe, and what is the better gearbox, the automatic R-TRONIC or the 6-speed manual. Okay guys, the first thing I want to discuss is the transmission, because I purchased the 6-speed manual and this is the R-TRONIC automatic. Now before I bought the car, I'd done a lot of online research on which transmission to get, and everyone said the R-TRONIC was clunky, it was jerky, because there's a single plate clutch and it was older technology before the S-TRONIC 7-speed came out, which was a dual clutch. The R-TRONIC was supposed to be it's unlivable. You couldn't drive it without feeling uncomfortable. So for that reason alone, I went for the 6-speed manual. Not that reason alone, because to be absolutely honest, I always wanted the open gated 6-speed transmission, that very old school, old school Ferrari look, old school Ferrari feel that no other supercar at that time had. That was, the Audi R8 was the last supercar to have an open gated shifter. So for that reason particularly, that's why I went for it. So this is going to be my first actual driving experience of the R-TRONIC gearbox, and I'm going to find out, is it as bad as people say it is? Oh, that Capristo exhaust. I recognise that sound. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Oh, right, okay. Let's kick things off. First time experiencing this gearbox. Okay, we're on drive. Now let's see, how bad is it really? Okay, we'll kick in automatic first to start. We're in first gear and second gear. Yeah, there was a wee delay in the change of the gears, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be be absolutely honest. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Sadly, I think many times on YouTube videos, the people who are doing the reviews in the cars, sometimes they exaggerate bad things just so they've got something to talk about. But to be absolutely honest, this gearbox is not that bad. Well, let's put it in manual mode. Okay, we're in second gear. Car's coming all the way to that car to pass. Hurry up, move, move. There we go. Oh yeah. I don't know if you saw that, my neck sort of kicked back in the changing the gears, because there is a definite delay. It's not uncomfortable, but it's definitely there. Now Fraser told me that there's a wee sort of fix to this, where I guess if you take your foot off the pedal as you change gears, oh yeah, that made a difference. That definitely makes a difference. Now, over the 6-speed, granted I've only driven this for literally a minute, that's a tough decision. That's a tough decision, because The 6-speed was a much more visceral driving experience. You heard that click every time you change the gears. This one, it's not as visceral, but it gives you that kick, which I guess I actually quite enjoy that. That's a difficult one. It's strange because I was expecting to have a clear cut, this is a transmission to buy, this one's the one to avoid, but I'm actually quite torn. The one gripe I'll have about the R-TRONIC is that the paddles are so small. I guess that's just because I'm used to the Lamborghini, which has got huge shifters. This one, when I turn the wheel, I'm trying to find where they are, and my hands aren't always on the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position, which it should be. So, when it comes to the transmission, I'm gonna say, you know what? You can't go wrong with either one. The 6-speed is visceral. The R-TRONIC is not that bad. I guess, if you wanted me to give you a final decision, I guess, you know, get the S-TRONIC, which is the 7-speed dual transmission, which Audi R8, you know, released at some point. I can't tell you exactly what year. So as for transmission, one each, you know, whichever one you want. Okay guys, let's have a quick look at the exterior of this car. Now, car released in 2006, so it's what, 16 years old, 17 years old, and it still looks so futuristic. I remember when the Audi R8 first came out, everyone absolutely crazy for it. It was Audi's first like sort of flagship supercar, and it kind of cemented it as a luxury car brand. Now, in my opinion, when the second generation R8 came out, I wasn't too keen on it, but it has grown on me. But the first generation, without doubt, is a timeless design. It's just so much rounder, so much more. Well, it was pretty much a huge game changer when it came out. Now, in the comparison between the coupe and the spyder, let's see. Now, when it comes to the exterior looks of the car, the biggest difference, if not the only difference, between the coupe and the spyder has got to be the side blade. Now, when the R8 was first introduced, that side blade caused so much hysteria, so much divided opinion. Some loved it, some hated it. I did not like it. I thought it looked crazy. It looked as if it was different for the sake of being different. But the more R8s I saw, the more it really grew on me. To the stage where, for me, it's not an R8 without that side blade, particularly in carbon fibre. Now, it's the signature piece of the car. If you take away the side blade, it's no longer an Audi R8. With the spyder, obviously they couldn't have the side blade because the roof, the way it's designed, to come off. But for me, the spyder, it doesn't look like an R8 anymore. It just looks like a muscled up, pumped up Audi TT. And I think most people would agree with me here, even Audi agree with me here, because if you look at the second generation Audi R8, what they done was they redesigned it so the side blade was split horizontally along the middle. So it has basically a large side blade at the bottom and a small side blade at the top. So even in the spyder version, they still had a carbon fibre side blade. So for me, it's a no-brainer. The coupe is a better looking car because it has an uninterrupted, massive carbon fibre side blade. But to be honest, in the spyder version where they took the roof down, it's not a bad looking car. So it's quite close, but for me, the coupe takes it just so slightly. Okay, as I've said, looks-wise, I would definitely take the coupe with the carbon fibre side blades. But the whole point of the spyder is not how it looks, it's how it feels when you drive it. So, with that said, let's get the roof down because we've got a wee bit of sunshine. I should probably fast forward this because this is actually taking quite a while. Oh, there we go, something's happening. Now this is the point of the spyder. It's not how it looks, it's how it feels when you drive. And this is going to be my actual first driving experience of a supercar convertible, because the only driving experience I had with a convertible was a Honda S2000. And that's not a supercar, that's hardly even a car, to be absolutely honest. Right, here we go. it's not as cold as I expected it to be. I mean, I guess because I'm sitting quite low because I'm quite short anyways, but my head's not like catching the wind. But oh wow, you know what? I would probably take a Spyder over a coupe, just because a coupe looks good when you look at it, but you probably spend most of the time driving the car. And originally I thought you needed good weather for a convertible. To be absolutely honest, you don't need fantastic weather. It's a cloudy day. As long as it's not raining, you can drive a convertible. So for me, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm still undecided. Just like the transmission, I'm undecided. What would you have? Coupe or convertible? Well, you know what? I think if you're an introvert, you would definitely take the coupe, definitely. Because in a convertible, you'll notice that you can't exactly hide. You're not in an enclosed bubble. Like, everyone can see what you're doing. If you're in stop-start traffic, everyone's going to be walking past you, and the whole point of a convertible is to be extrovert, it's to be noticed. So I'm very extrovert, so I'll say, you know what, for me, I'll take the Spyder. Yeah, there we go. Spyder over the coupe. But if you're an introvert, if you're shy, if you don't like the attention, well, if you don't like the attention, I wonder why you get one of these cars in the first place. But if you're one of those people, then I guess stick to the coupe. See, I know you can't see this, well, you probably can about an inch forward, but there's a Porsche Boxer next to me, convertible, and your roof is down. Mate, it's Scotland. We've got a little bit of sunshine. Get the roof open, for fuck's sake. What are you doing? Why buy a convertible? Let's say I'll drive forward, you'll probably see him behind me now. Why buy a convertible if you don't take the roof down on any day that's not raining? Okay, finally, let's talk engine. Well, mine was a 4.2 V8 with 420 horsepower. This is a 5.2 V10 with 530 odds horsepower. 0-60 in the V8 was 3.9 and 0-60 in the V10 was 3.5. Now, this is off the top of my head, so if I get any of these figures wrong, I'll put the numbers on the screen. But that 0.5 seconds, that's in real world terms, that's a huge difference in 0-60 time. So when it comes to performance, I must admit, just driving this car for a good couple hours, I do feel that the urgency of the engine is more there. If that's a term, if that's proper use of the English language, is more there. Let's say the engine's more urgent. In the V8, I did feel you had to really use a lot of the more, you had to use higher revs to get the power out of the engine. This one, you get more power out of the lower revs, so it's more usable in that sense. However, one thing I will say about the V8 is that the sound of the V8 was better than the V10. In my opinion, the V8 was a wee bit higher pitched compared to the V10. Now, I'm not saying the V10 is a bad car, but remember, this car has the Capristo exhaust. My other car had the Capristo exhaust as well. So I'm comparing as much the real world fair comparison as I can. I'm comparing two different engines with the same exhaust. The V8 sounded better than the V10, that's just my opinion. But the V10 has that better performance. I'm going to be honest, it's much better performance. The difference between the V8 and the V10 is huge. So which engine would I have? To be absolutely honest, well, the V8 wasn't a slow car. In comparison to this car, it's slower, yeah, absolutely. But did you really need that much performance? Price-wise, there's a quite a big difference in price between the V8 and the V10. If I had to make a decision, you know what? V8 versus V10, I would take the V8 for the simple reason being it sounded better. It felt more rewarding because you had to use the high revs to get the power out of the engine, and even then you didn't need that much performance from the car in the first place for what it was worth, for what you're going to use it for. But again, I must admit, the V10, the power is definitely more urgent. So I guess just like the exterior and the transmission, I'm at a loss. I can't tell you which is better. They're both good in their own right. I'm confused. I know you're probably confused watching this video, but you know what? That says a lot about both cars, both engines, both transmissions, and both coupe and spyder, both chassis. No matter which one you get, you're not going to be disappointed. And the price of this car, Jesus, there really isn't that much better bang for your buck than an Audi R8, particularly the first generation. Absolutely. If you can ignore the dated dash, because to be absolutely honest, these things like the dated dash, you're not really going to care when you drive the car, and that's what you bought the car for, was to drive it. And whether you get the manual, the R-TRONIC, the coupe, the spyder, or the V8 or the V10, you're going to absolutely love it. Well guys, that's all from me in this video. I've probably not really answered many questions between which car is a better car, because to be honest, I don't really know. I'm so undecided. But big thanks to Fraser for letting me use this car for today. Thank you guys for watching, and to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. See you guys later. One absolutely hilarious thing I need to mention about the R8 is the front bonnet, the boot space, because look at this. Look at the size of that. Right, you look at the door opening, like this has got to be a massive, massive boot. Then you look inside like, no, it's not. Oh, the world of supercars.